Hey guys, welcome back. This is the 16th lecture of our bootcamp series. In the last lecture, we covered the for loop. In this lecture, we will discuss and look at the uses of while loops in Ruby. So, while loops are the loops where it takes a parameter that evaluates as a boolean value, either true or false. The parameter can be anything like a logical compression, a comparison, or an expression, or some direct value, or some boolean true or false value itself. And once the parameter or expression becomes the false, the while loop is not executed again, and the program continues after the while loop. You can write any kind of logic to be performed within the while loop. Here is the example of your while loop. So in this example you can see that we have a variable I equal to 1, and we are using a logical comparison or a logical expression here that it the loop should executed until the I becomes 10, or till the I is not equal to 10. And then in the body of the loop we are executing a puts statement, and then we are incrementing the value of I. Okay, so it is required for while loop to declare a variable first and then write expression or any value that should be changed in every iteration to become either true or false. For example, if you write false here, then it will never execute, and if you write true here at the logical expression, the loop will keep executing for infinite times. So this is what we need to be careful about. Let's try to run the example. Here you can see I equal to 1 while I not equal to 10, and puts hello Ruby developers, and then I'm incrementing I by 1 every time. Now let's, if I execute this, here you can see the program started. Okay, and it has checked that 1 is not equal to 10, then print the hello Ruby developer and incremented I by 1. Now I becomes 2 now, and it checked that 2 not equal to 10 and printed the statement, and then again incremented the value of I. Okay, now it keeps incrementing and keep printing the hello Ruby developers. Okay, and once I become 10, then once I become 10, then 10 not equal to 10 condition become false, and then your loop will exit, and anything after loop is written, then that code will get executed. Okay, now, but with while loop there is a possibility to fall into infinite execution. Why? Because it is very much different from the for loop. Okay, because for loop runs on for loop run on a finite set of elements, or some fixed range or collection of elements. Okay, so there is a finite chance. There is a finite number of iteration in every loop, so that will never fall into any infinite loop. But while loop can fall into infinite execution if the condition or the value which we are incrementing at the in the loop is not written properly, or your logic is written incorrectly. For example, in the same example we seen here, you can see that we are incrementing I by 1. So initial value of I is 1, and if we increment it uh, by 1, then it is always at some point it becomes 10 definitely. But if we do not increment the value, then it will fall into the infinite execution. And if we increment value, that will not make it 10 over the iterations or across the iteration, then it also fall into the infinite execution. For example, right now we have this I equal to 1, and if we remove this statement, since now we have removed this and we are not incrementing I by 1, then you will see that your program will fall into infinite execution. You can see that it's keep executing, and we have to forcefully halt the execution here. Why? It fall into the infinite execution, that initial value of I is 1, and we are checking the condition that I is not equal to 10. Okay, 1 is never not equal to 10, and the condition is always true, so it always keep running. Okay, and keep printing hello ruby developers for infinite time. Okay, now suppose if we are incrementing value but we are doing it very wrongly. Let's say I added 5. Okay, since the 11th, sorry, the initial value of I is 1, and 1 not equal to 10 condition is true, it prints hello ruby developers, and then it incremented the value of I by 5. Now I becomes 6, and 6 not equal to 10, and it prints the hello ruby developers, and again it will incremented by 5. Now I becomes 6 plus 5, that is 7. Sorry, 11. Okay, and 11 never equal to 10, so next time it goes 16, then 21, then 26, then 31, so it never becomes 10 again. So it is also a true condition always, and the loop will executed infinite time. For example, let's run it again. Okay, this is it is also executing for infinite times. Okay, and you also need to check that your condition should not be false always. If your condition is false always, then your code will never get executed within the loop. Then it means that you have very useless loops and you need to remove that. For example, let's say I equal to 1, and if I'm incrementing it by -1. Okay, now if you can check it, let's keep it 1. I greater than 10, the condition is false, and the loop will never executed. Why? Because the initial value of I is 1. Let's check it. You will see that your loop is not executed at all. Okay, so this is the difference between the while loop and for loop, that you need to be careful in the while loop while defining your initial condition, and while incrementing your loop variant or the variable which you are using in the logical expression. Okay, so because if it is defined incorrectly or if it is operated incorrectly, then your loop, either two byte possibilities there, that either your either your loop will not get executed or it might fall into the infinite execution. So you need to be careful about that situation. Okay, now let's take the such examples which can fall into infinite execution again. This will fall into infinite execution. Why? Because we are not incrementing the value of I after defining it once, and this will also fall into infinite execution because we are incrementing value of I by something which will never satisfy our condition. Okay, so both of these examples will considered as useless implementation of while loops and fall into infinite execution, and you have to forcefully halt the execution of your program. Now, things to remember: that while loop does not have its own scope. It means that entire body of loop is in the same scope as the code that contains the while loop. So that's all from this video, and I hope you get very brief but useful information about the while loop, and now you can practice more at your end to get yourself more comfortable with while loops. Now it's the question time. So there are 5 questions in this for the while loop. The first one is what is while loop in Ruby and how it works? What is the difference between while loop and for loop? Is it possible that a while loop fall into infinite execution? Yes, we have seen that. If yes, in what cases? Okay. Now, how you will prevent a while loop from infinite execution? So there are only uh, few possibilities like s- satisfy your condition to be false and just try to prevent that your condition is always true. Okay, because if condition is always true, then while loop will execute it infinitely. Okay, also try to avoid that condition is always false, because if condition is always false, then there is no sense to use while loop in a program at all. Okay, and does while loop has its own scope? No, while loop does not have its own scope. So that's all from this video, and thanks for watching this. In the next lecture we will discuss about until loop in Ruby. Till then, tata, goodbye, take care and stay safe.